Ah, there you are. Can you hear me? Wave your hand if you can hear me. Okay, perfect, fantastic. So, my beloveds, I am here in Kihei on the island of Maui. This is first. I've never done a Zoom from Kihei before. Now I can see Valentina is talking, so she must be translating into Spanish. Yes, okay. And who is translating into Portuguese, Miri?
Maya?
Fantastic. So this is lovely. Are they in the separate work rooms? Yeah, how wonderful. So we've discovered this possibility is they can do a simultaneous translation while I speak. This particular kind of Zoom that I speak only in English is kind of a treat for me because I have to, it's a different consideration when something is being translated and I have to stop and wait. It's difficult for me sometimes to maintain the continuity of the teaching that I'm trying to give. So it's really an amazing blessing to have this possibility. But I have to remember to talk a little slow, huh, Valentina? I'll try. So we met last night as the full moon was rising. Tonight is the full moon, the apex of it. And so during these 3 days, our wonderful merit is increased 100,000 times, plus the fact that there is an eclipse going on somewhere. So we multiplied that another 100,000 times. We have fabulous opportunity here to generate merit. So I'm very pleased that we can all come together for this wonderful event. Also, it's a very special day in America. The 4th of July is when we celebrate freedom from, and we became a democracy. We became free from the monarchy in England. And I've always enjoyed this day. It's sort of a fun time. There's fireworks and there's speeches and there's parades. Most of the little towns in America, there are parades. And it's a time of joy. It's summertime. And so children usually were out of school during this time. Of course, now they're almost perennially out of school. At any rate, beyond just the festivities and the cultural event, the word freedom for me is extremely important, extremely important. And the fact that we live in countries where we have certain freedoms, it's precious. We need to really understand this. As I traveled and many different countries of the world and discovered there are countries where this freedom does not exist. And the people in general are not happy. They live in terror of things arbitrarily being changed and their lives being destroyed by political maneuvers. And as we have seen in the course of our own lives, politics very often, politicians don't necessarily think of their responsibility to invite the country that they are serving, the people that they're serving, to work together. Instead, they often generate divisiveness. Now, according to the teachings that we work with in our dances and our practices, there's nothing worse. There's nothing that destroys merit more than creating divisiveness amongst people. Because the only way we are going to accomplish the great goal of our humanity, to manifest awakened mind, all of us, is if we work together. This is not this is not something that we do on our own. It's not a singular journey. It's not a solitary journey. Some parts of it, yes, we have our personal obligations that will fulfill this unity that we are striving to engage. But in general, it is a social movement. It is a movement that we do together. In our practices, we, right from the very beginning, determine this when we engage in the practice of refuge. We're recognizing that this grand journey that we have determined that we are going to follow, all of us who have gathered here today have determined that we are paying attention to these teachings because they fulfill a need that we have within ourselves to manifest what's available to us, to manifest what's most precious to us, our inner wisdom, our capacity to love, and our skillfulness in helping others to love as well. In order to accomplish this great goal, our human potential, as I call it, in order to accomplish this, we need support. We need inspiration and support. Inspiration so that we can devise strategy to work with what we are given in this world, to work with all of the circumstances that we are given. We need to have inspiration. We need to see that it can be done. That's what inspires us. When we read a book or we watch a movie or we talk to somebody and we realize that however difficult the circumstances are and however obnoxious the obstacles appear to be, nonetheless, with support, with some inspiration, some ideas coming from who knows where, we might be able to push through. We might be able to use the power of the event in order to help our mind transform into its awakened state. So in order to do that, we look for inspiration. We look for those who can inspire us, and we look for those who can support us. So this is definitely day by day, this is our Sangha, this is our community, our gathering. We come together and we support each other and we inspire each other. Absolutely essential. And we're living under circumstances where we are allowed to meet and gather. It's barely 100 years ago, let's say 150 years ago, when most countries were all spiritual and religious practice was under the thumb of the rulers. So, or some head of religion. And whatever they said had to be followed at the pain of death, at the pain of death. We cannot even imagine, because once you have a freedom, you can't even imagine not having it. So, for instance, nowadays, as women, we have freedoms that 150 years ago, we did not have. We did not have the freedom to own our own property, at least in this country. We did not have the freedom to vote. We didn't have the freedom to determine who we were going to marry, who we were going to live with, how we were going to live with them, how many children we were going to have. We didn't have any of those freedoms. And yet now we almost don't even think about it because we have them. This is the joy of freedom, but it's also wise for us to celebrate freedom and to wish it upon all beings. So that this is why our prayer is always, may all beings be happy, may all beings be free. So this freedom that we're talking about, it's not only the political freedom that we enjoy in our countries and in our in the four thoughts that turn the mind. We are actually encouraged to remember that we live in a situation where we are free to practice our spiritual path. So it's not only about this political and cultural freedom. The other aspect of freedom is to be free from the patterns that we have in our own mind stream that we have not attempted to engage in a way that is going to bring us and the people around us happiness. We are driven by various unwholesome thoughts that drive us apart, that keep us separate from each other. So when we speak of freedom in the spiritual sense, we want to be free from this tendency. We want to be so free that whatever situation arises, we meet it as we wish. And we cultivate, we study, okay, so what kind of persona do we want to meet life with? How do we want to meet life? How do we want to be seen? How do we want to work together with people? How do we want to think about people? So we need to determine this. This is one of the reasons we look to the enlightened ones. We look to teachers because we see how do they behave? What is it that they have that makes them exceptional, that makes them extraordinary, that makes it so that not only we, but countless people are inspired and uplifted by their attitudes and behavior. What are they doing? And whatever it is that they're doing, can I do it as well? Can I do it as well? Now, according to these teachings, absolutely. In fact, this is why we develop the relationship with someone like Tara, because here is a being whom we are told through the tradition that she is a bodhisattva. Can you imagine looking at this world and all of its craziness, and instead of escaping, even if you have the option, staying to help people, to benefit people, to uplift people until they too can be free from mental discrimination, mental difficulties. So this is a bodhisattva. This is Tara's vow. I will remain until the end of time, until all beings are free. So you have been invited through this dance and through Tara Dhatu to develop this relationship with Tara. Many of you already had a relationship with her, and you're simply seeking a way to increase this relationship, to really get to know it. So as we would do with any being that we admire, especially, you know, if there is someone who has a skill that we want, you know, someone knows computers or someone knows cooking or whatever, we associate with these people who know something about what we want to know about. So this is the case with Tara. We associate with her, we get to know her, we want to know all about her because we want what she has. We want the capacity to meet each person with this open-hearted love and willingness to go however far it takes to help them to awaken. So we want to be able to do this. And we want to be able to do this without any mental insanity going on, without any sense of making some big, horrible, painful sacrifice. It can only be done. This sacrifice can only be done out of love, out of absolute love. And with that love and the combination of the wisdom that drives it, we can find the skill to be able to really help others to be free from whatever holds them back from their own potential. So today we celebrate our capacity to do that. And we celebrate that we have the potential through this relationship with Tara and these practices that we are working with. Through this relationship, we are given the option, the opportunity to celebrate our own freedom and to share it with the people around us. So this is very, very precious, and I'm very, very happy that you can share it with me. This is just absolutely delightful that we could be together on this day in this magical way. I mean, look at you. I'm looking at everybody. You're all over the place. I mean, really, it is just incredible. It's so fabulous. Really, really remarkable. Yeah, well, and here on Maui, we had our first meeting in the park. And yes, we kept social distance, and we used my little Bluetooth, and it was really amazing. You forget. Now talk about freedom. Remember the freedom that we had to come and go as we pleased from our houses. The freedom that we had to meet in the park or to meet at a friend's house, to dance and to celebrate. And now look how that freedom has been curtailed. We never know when things are going to change. But we were very happy to turn the wheel in the other direction last night. Under the setting sun and the rising full moon, we celebrated the joy of Tara's practice. Now, this says, I have been signed out because my account is signed in from another device. I have no idea what that means. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So this must be some kind of weird, I don't know. I'm just going to tell it to go away. Can you still hear me? Okay, well, then there's that. You know, the wilds of cyberspace. We just never know what's going to happen. Of course, I'm staying. I have the fabulous, great privilege of staying at Barbara and Michael and Camry Gach's, one of their little condos. It's their business. They have 3 condos on Maui, and of course, we have no guests. We have no tourists are allowed onto the island. And unless they go into quarantine, what tourist wants to go into quarantine, even on Maui? And so her sweet little cottage, condo here has been empty. So I asked if I could stay down here so I could swim, which I did this morning. It was fabulous. And hang out with my beloved Maui sisters and dance, which was also fabulous. And celebrate 4th of July, amazing. Yep, and I'm going to get to see Laura's granddaughter. This is very exciting. Yeah, it's nice to have family, to have community. Okay, so there were 2 questions that had been sent to me. You know, I really prefer questions. It's so much easier than just talking off the top of my head, even though, as you can see, that's not all that difficult. But Carrie sent 2 questions, and I thought that they were really very good, very good questions. So I'd like to address them before I go off into any other direction. So Joshua, I've asked Joshua to read the questions because I didn't print them off, so I don't want to wander around in my computer trying to find them. So Josh, could you read the first question for me, please?
Sure. All right, the question is, the future seems so uncertain. There is so much unknown. How can we work with our minds skillfully?
Okay, this is the essence of these practices, actually. How do we work with our mind to meet the uncertainty of the moment? First of all, it's not like it's anything different. Every moment is uncertain. Every situation is uncertain. We imagine that things are going to just keep going on. Well, they're not. There's no way. Look at the changes of your own body. Every week, you have something different going on in your own body. So let alone every month, every year, every decade, you are changing. There's no child. I wrote a poem. The mountain's always falling down and the ocean filling up. I know if I go for 100 years, I will never stand on one solid piece of earth. I think I was just learning how to write when I wrote that down. So, but this is the understanding that we need to have, that it doesn't matter who or what, where or when, it is going to change. Impermanence is the name of the game here. So no matter what is going on, no matter how uncertain your future appears at this moment, it is no different from the last moment when it appeared to be certain, because that was an illusion. This idea of certainty and of things having a systematic pattern, that is illusion. The truth is uncertainty. So it's absolutely essential that we know this in our bones. So that way, as things reveal themselves, as they unfold, as the moments unfold, we have countless lifetimes where we have all together created infinite waves of karmic connections and karmic circumstances. And we live them out moment by moment. This is what we live out. And so we have no idea where the wave is coming from and what it's going to feel like and how prepared we're going to be for it. However, the question was, what do we do about this time of great uncertainty? cultivate the virtues. Cultivate the virtues. Have a deep understanding of the basis and the foundation of your precious human life. Celebrate it. Do everything you can. It doesn't matter what situation or circumstance arises. Meet it with integrity as much as you possibly can. Meet it with love. Meet it with wisdom. Keep your heart open. Be compassionate to the people around you. Recognize that if you are confirmed in a deep understanding of what this life is about and how to work with it, you will not suffer. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha pointed out to us. He pointed out the suffering is caused because we do not understand what is stimulating the circumstances of suffering. What is causing the suffering? What is the cause of suffering? And he says it's very clear right from the beginning, this misunderstanding, this idea that we are unique, that we are not interconnected, and because of that, we engage in creating a persona that we feel is something solid. We do everything we can to heap things around it so that it has a substantial presence, and then we engage in acts of aggression and violence anytime that's threatened. So that's the cause of our instability and our suffering. When we understand that, it is possible to stop this. It is absolutely possible. This is what the great beings demonstrate to us, that even when they're, I've met many of these amazing Tibetan masters who, and the one that comes to mind right now is Dengo Khyentse Rinpoche, incredible Nyingma master, incredible. He was like a king in Tibet. He had many monasteries and many disciples and much riches and fame and so forth. And then along came the Chinese invasion, and he was living, he escaped, I believe it was to Sikkim, but it was somewhere in that corner of the world, either Sikkim or Bhutan or the Darjeeling district. But he escaped there, and this Tibetan man was telling me this story. He said he was living with his family in a graveyard because that was the only space that was available to them. And they had just sort of put together some pieces of wood and, some old tin cans. And so he said he used to go there to receive teachings from this great master. And he said the degree of dignity and the degree of overwhelming unconditional love that he received, the degree of support that he received from this great master was no different, even though he was living in poverty, even though he had completely lost everything. To do that, this is what your question is. What allows him to be able to do that? Cultivate the virtues. Cultivate your wisdom, compassion, and your skill. Gather the power, the capacity to really benefit others. And that will make all the difference. It doesn't really matter what is happening around us. We think when things are pleasant that it's easier. But actually, according to the mind training practices, it's more difficult because we get distracted and we forget. We forget what our goal is. So we start, when things are really good, we think, oh, well, today's goal is to go swimming. Well, no, today's goal is to cultivate wisdom and compassion. Now, if something inhibits the swimming, oh, I've got a phone call I've got to deal with. So then there's frustration because we've decided that swimming is where satisfaction is. But the phone call is essential to help someone. So actually, that's the most important thing going on. So determine, moment by moment, what is bringing the most fulfillment to the largest number of people around you? What is celebrating unity? What is celebrating everyone's freedom and connectivity? And what is breaking us apart? What is divisive? That is what you want to avoid. That is what you really want to see. Why? Ask, of course, this also must be considered as part of the practice. when these negative thoughts and emotions and experiences, this idea of I'm here, I'm protecting myself, you're over there, you go, just don't bug me. So when that arises, we have to be able to look at the mind and its contents. We constantly have to be able to look at our own mind and see, where is this coming from, and what is the result of this kind of behavior. If the result is divisiveness, then we know it's unhealthy. If it's unhealthy, why are we thinking that way? Why are we going in that direction? So we explore the mind. The mind is a fertile field for exploration, and you will find quite incredible things. You will discover what stimulates your discomfort. You will discover, what are you afraid of? This is a very important question you need to ask yourself whenever this kind of behavior displays. What am I afraid of? It's because what we're afraid of is the impermanence. We're afraid of losing something that our identity is gripping onto. So when we start learning how to be flexible, how to be open and move with what we are and what our potential is, then we stop grasping like that. It simply doesn't make any sense anymore. We realize, okay, here's the next moment. How am I going to meet it with wisdom and compassion? Here's the next situation. And the more difficult the situation, look at this circumstance right now. Locked in our houses for 3 months. So, and I have heard from so many people what a great gift this has been. What a great gift. Because most of the people that I associate with are engaged in these practices and have discovered that they're going to take advantage of this opportunity. They're going to figure it out. They're going to make the most of it. And it actually has been, for many people, a tremendous opportunity. Look at us. Here, we can meet now like this. It's remarkable that we can do this. And this was stimulated by this situation. So we don't know, the old every cloud has a silver lining number is true. And we have to look for it rather than allow ourselves to be overwhelmed and to feel a sense of despair because of it. Yeah, so Carrie, that was your question. How did I do? Is there some other aspect of this that you would like me to discuss? Okay, we need to unmute Carrie. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. Okay.
This is what you were talking about. I have a question about what you're talking about. Because when you were talking about the virtues, you were talking about cultivating wisdom, compassion, and power. And I thought with the virtues, you would be talking about the Tara of impeccable virtue, those virtues. So could you talk maybe about how those relate to each other?
The three poisons, right, are the first thing that we look at. And the 3 cultivations of wisdom and compassion and skillful means and power, those are just ways of looking at it. There are many aspects to virtue. Virtue, there's one, I like to call it, ruler, right? One yardstick. There's one yardstick to measure virtue. Does it move towards interconnectedness or does it move towards separation? So virtue is that which brings us into interconnectedness. Non-virtue is that which destroys connectedness. This is why acts of anger and violence, they destroy connectedness. So you're talking about the 6 perfections, the patience, perseverance, generosity, skillful means, meditative absorption, and prajna, penetrating insight, the 6 perfections that Tara number 6 demonstrates. Number 3, Tara number 3 demonstrates. It's also true that in the Buddhist tradition, there are 10 virtues. There's a whole teaching, which includes the 6, and then there's another 4. So all of these numbers about things are devices to get us to reflect on the capacity of certain events that occur in our life, its capacity to bring benefit to us. So if we look at, for instance, okay, the 6 virtues, patience, all right. Now looking at the yardstick, right? Okay, what's moving us with patience towards connectivity, and what moves us towards separation? Of course, to be patient with another. Patience is probably one of the biggest qualities that we need to cultivate in the presence of anger. When someone is upset with us or angry with us, what's occurring is that they don't understand us. Anger is all about frustration, that somebody is not giving us what we think we need. So how do we deal with that? We try to be patient. We try to rest and not create a whole scenario of divisiveness. So patience, and according to these teachings, there's a tremendous book, the Bodhisattvacharya Avatara, the path of the Bodhisattva, right, of Shantideva, where he's explaining how each one of these virtues work to present themselves as opportunities, and that we can only benefit, we can only have this, the juice, the vitality from these opportunities if we understand them as opportunities and use these 6 perfections in that relationship. So patience is rather obvious, but it's not just patience, waiting for something. It's patience with somebody who's falling apart and who you are trying to give them some information about the Dharma, and it's impossible. They can't hear you. They are so upset. They're falling apart. They're going crazy. That requires tremendous amount of patience, allowing you to rest within yourself so that you can listen and see if you can get some insight into some creative way of dealing with the situation. Generosity is even the scientists will tell you, all of their neurological experiments, that the most important thing you can do for your own well-being is to be generous with others. The most important thing to develop your own sense of happiness and well-being is to be generous. Now, some of us don't have a lot of stuff, but we have time, and we have heart, and we have love. So generosity isn't just about money and things. Generosity is about whatever we have. What do we, can we share it? So that is a very important, and according to these teachings, these virtues, when we work with them, when we encounter a stressful situation, and instead of meeting it with opposition, we meet it with the virtues. We meet it with these, the capacity of patience and generosity and so forth, that we attract around us what has been translated as merit. And as those of you who've been with me, you know how frustrating I find that word, because it represents a refined energy that gives us the capacity to understand the nature of mind and the nature of reality in the deepest and most intense way possible. So we want to have this form of energy interacting with all of the energetic flows of our body-mind, so that we are kept stable and clear enough to hear the guidance that brings us into the deepest state of mind. So where were we? Perseverance. In other words, knowing that we want to accomplish this goal of awakened mind, we are not going to let anything knock us off the course. Meditative absorption is the capacity to concentrate. This is why we're encouraged to do practices that stimulate concentration. So meditation is the one that this particular path has chosen as supreme. Our dance will bring us into a powerful state of concentration. The reason concentration is so important is because we have to be able to look directly at the mind and what it's doing. We have to be able to say, what am I afraid of? And then not run away. Because believe me, when you ask, what am I afraid of? You're going to see something that really terrifies you, because we have so many different kinds of experiences within us. And so you need to be able to hold your position, to look at it and see, well, wait a second, I'm not there anymore. And that's no longer true. That's no longer the case. There's no reason for me to be afraid in this situation. So there's no reason for me to be stimulated to reject or be violent. So it's necessary that we're able to hold our place. That's what concentration is. And then the sixth perfection is meditative, prajna, insight arising. This is the result, actually, of meditative concentration and of engaging in all of these perfections. Insight can arise at any moment. Very often, we find, am I okay? Something dinged. Oh, that was my phone. Okay. Very often, we find that, where was I? Meditative absorption, prajna, penetrating insight. Yep. Okay. My phone distracted me, excuse me. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing, Carrie? Was that helpful? Yeah. Very good. Okay. So next question.
Okay, the second question is, in the mantra dance, there are 3 modes of working with the mantra. Where did these modes come from, and why did you decide to use these 3 in the dance?
Okay. So that's an interesting question, Carrie. When I first created the mandala dance of Tara, so we're talking almost 35 years ago, I didn't know very much about Tibetan Buddhist practice. And the first dance, we just danced, I think, 14 praises. And we didn't have the dedication prayer. We didn't really dance the mantra. We just danced 14 praises. And immediately after that, I started engaging in serious practice, because the Lama said, you really, this is something very special. And he was encouraging me to learn more about Tara. So then I realized, okay, we need a mantra dance. And I had been working with the dances of universal peace for some years in India. I met a teacher from, actually from Hawaii, interesting enough. I met this teacher who, Yaksan, for those of you who are Sufis, very wonderful being, and had studied some dance. And one of his students, I studied some of the dances of universal peace. And I found them to be really quite special, because you could get a group together very easily in a short period of time and teach them a profound spiritual method with really little preparation. You could do that. So I decided that we were going to do that for the Tara mantra. And I had a melody, because my neighbor, stupid caretaker Jeff, would come down to my house, and he and my husband would play music and sing, and Jeff sang this mantra. And he sang this melody. And so I knew, okay, we've got the melody, we've got the mantra. And then as I started studying various practices within the Tibetan Buddhist context, I realized, okay, I can take these meditations that the Lama has been transmitting, and I can use them with the mantra. So the first one, it sort of represented for me what we had been doing during the whole dance of the 21 praises, because the whole dance of the 21 praises is receiving the light and concentrating it. So we were doing that again and again. But then I thought, okay, we need to do something for the earth. Now, as a trained classical Indian dancer, before we dance, we usually touch the earth with reverence And then when we're finished dancing, we touch the earth in gratitude, because Mother Earth is a living entity for the dancer, and because the dancer is stomping upon her. And if she does a good job, then Mother Earth is stimulated. And if she does a not so good job, then Mother Earth, has a lot of sympathy for the dancer, right? So this is a gesture that I wanted to somehow include. So by taking the light and concentrating it, I thought, okay, we'll send it into the earth. And we did that for many years. Many of you will remember that that was how the dance first started developing, was to heal and bless the earth. Palms down, heal and bless the earth. Not too many years ago, I don't remember exactly when, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I think, but I've totally lost track of time. We were having some really horrendous physical things happening on the planet. We've had the volcano going off, we had tsunamis happening, we had torrential rains, we had fires burning all over the place. This is still going on. And so I thought we need to address all the elements, not just the earth element. And we had been doing studies of the elements with the Dakinis. And so I decided to change that part of the dance. And so we received the light, we concentrated the heart. And then I had been taught by a student of Kalu Rinpoche, I had been taught the symbolic, the geometric symbols of the elements. And so we create the geometric symbols of the elements. So we create a square for the earth, a circle for water, a triangle for fire, a crescent, a half moon or a half sphere for air. And so that's where that one came from. That was the first one. Also, I called in Kachina Palencia. For those of you who have been to Kauai camps, you all know Kachina, who was a leader of the dances of Universal Peace. And so she helped me to walk through that one especially. Then I had been accumulating Tara Mantra out of the direction of Lama Tenzin. And one of the practices in accumulation, there are actually two things that happen when you engage in retreat. Well, there are many things, but when you're working with the mantra, there are two specific activities. One is the activity of making offerings and receiving blessings. So I thought, okay, that seems like a really wonderful thing to do with the mantra. So we're going to imagine that we make offerings, because whenever you do this, when you make offerings to a divine being such as Tara, it is said that your merit increases tremendously. So I thought, okay, this is good. First, we settle the elements, we calm the elements, we send some energy there, because that alone will bring some merit. But then we make offerings to Tara, or our sources of refuge, and that will bring us more strength, more vitality, more blessing. But then I realized the other thing that had really intrigued me and delighted me about the Tibetan path, one of the things that just really hooked me, you might say, was the understanding of empowerment, and that we could accumulate power, that it was necessary for us to become powerful. Because once we are powerful, we can empower others. We can bless them and empower them. Now, this was a novel idea to me, because being raised a Catholic, it was only the priest who had the power. And certainly he was the only one who could give blessings. I mean, really? Blessings? So it took a while for me to really look at that and think, okay, we need to get into this habit of blessing and empowering each other. Not just in the dance form, of course, that's part of our journey here with the dances, but also just in our day-to-day life. If we're living with a partner, we need to understand that our behavior, our love, our offerings to this partner, that we can empower them. We empower them to be the best that they can be. If we're not doing that, we're missing something. Okay, are you waving to me, Joshua?
I am. I just got a heads up from the translators that they would like for you to slow it just a little bit down.
Oh, that's difficult. I lose track so easy these days. Okay, when you are in relationship with anyone, with your child, with your partner, with your neighbors, with your the policeman, with the clerk in the store, if you are a powerful person, if you have accumulated a lot of merit, spiritual energy, you will have the capacity and the capability of empowering them to be the best they can be. It doesn't mean you're giving them the power to run amok and to do something stupid. You don't just give away power. You give away power in a very specific way. So we are empowering each other then to, in the circle of Tara, to manifest the qualities of Tara. So again, we make offerings. By making offerings, we connect with that divine essence that is Tara and our sources of refuge. And offerings make us all happy. You know, I don't know, I'm sure you've had the occasion to create a beautiful feast for your family or your friends. And when you do that, it's not about you eating the feast. Every bit of it is about bringing your enjoyment comes from their enjoyment. Your enjoyment, you are doing everything to the pretty dishes and the nice, every bit of it is with the idea that your guests or your family are going to be blessed and empowered. They're going to love what you're doing. So, and that empowers you. So this is what the idea of offering to Tara. So we think, okay, all of these joys, like right now I'm looking out at these beautiful plumeria flowers. And I can think, I wish for Tara and all of my Tara sisters to be able to experience such beauty. That thought creates the wave of blessing coming back to me, because it's just like what happens when people sit down and eat your delicious food and they say, oh, this is so good. What happens? You get this flush of really joyful energy. That's what's happening in that dance. This, here's everything I love. And yes, this joy, I'm so happy. So then you have accumulated this power. So now what are we going to do with it? With this opening, this joy? Well, we're going to wish it to each other. So where that came from, Carrie, you know, it came from where all the other Tara stuff comes from. You know, it just sort of drops in and there it is. And it worked. I thought that is profound. You know, we can do that. And of course, I've also done quite a bit of that in my personal retreat. But then the third gesture is a practice that there are many, many versions of Tonglen, many, many versions. And there are tons of teachings about Tonglen because it is a practice that is dynamite. It truly helps to break up fixation. And this is the willingness of the world, all the suffering of the world is created together, that all of us created this suffering. And that here we are, we have achieved joy. We have achieved awakening. And so we want to give this to the whole world. And whatever are the causes and the circumstances for pain and suffering, we want to take it away. And this is so the antithesis of what our culture is telling us. Our culture, I mean, when I grew up, one of the biggest arguments I had with my father was he was always saying, you got to take care of number one. And of course, meaning, you know, you take care of yourself, don't worry about anybody else. You know, you figure out, you take care of your family, you and your family, and the rest of the world, who cares? And of course, this didn't go over very well with me. So, but this is the understanding. This is that all of us, we want all of our joy to be shared. So in this practice, we take all of our joy, all of our achievement, all of our inspiration, and we imagine that it goes out to the world. And wherever there is confusion, wherever there is darkness, wherever there are the causes of suffering, we want to take them away. We want to take it away. Now, part of the practice that I didn't teach very much in the beginning, because this is a tricky proposition. People are nervous about taking away another person's suffering. And so you really have to be grounded in your Tara essence and recognize, and you have to have a tremendous amount of faith in the practice. So I determined that in order to get people to be able to do this comfortably, we had to do it in stages. And so the first stage is being willing to take the energy of the confusion, consume it in the heart until it's completely gone. Because during the course of our practice, we are cultivating this sense of the fire of wisdom in our heart. And so we're not holding on to this. We're not making ourselves suffer. We're not taking on anything. What we're doing is being willing to remove the causes of suffering from the world and consume them in our own heart. And that makes the wisdom fire grow. When the wisdom fire grows, what happens? The radiance of compassion increases, which gives us all of this power, all of this joy, all of this energy. Send it out into the world. See that everybody gets some. And see that all of the conditions and all of the circumstances. Now, another part of this practice, if you want to take another step, is all of the suffering of the world is due to causes and conditions, whatever they are. Karma, you can call it karma. It's the same, causes and conditions. So all of these circumstances have created this situation. But within us are the same impulses of insanity. The same impulses of anger and jealousy and greed and fear and guilt and all of the things that weigh us down. It's inside of us as well. So another aspect of the practice, if you want to go one step further, is as you take all of these causes, you recognize that within you, now this is Ho'oponopono, yeah? You recognize that within you is the same causes, that you have all of the aspects, all of the conditions that have created this situation. And so you ask that not only the suffering of the world be transformed in the wisdom of your heart, but that your own, whatever it is that you have within you that is the cause for suffering, that too is completely consumed, and that it reveals its richness as wisdom and compassion. These are very powerful, very profound practices. So when I'm asked, how do we make a difference? Do the practices. The practices are self-revealing. As you engage in the practice, then you discover insight will automatically arise because you are accumulating merit, you are engaged in practices that make you stable and that make you clear. So in those conditions, you will be able to receive the inspiration, because inspiration is all around you all the time. The wisdom is present all the time. It's you that need to be receptive to it. You need to receive it. Now, some of the religions call it that still small voice. Well, it's only still and small if you're not listening well. I mean, in general, it shouts. It is trying to become very clear to you what your next step is to move into the expansive nature of your own mind's essence. So learn how to engage in the practices that enable you to hear, because it's not only with the ear, it's also with the heart that you hear. And then you know what it is that you have to do. What is your step to bring this enormous tapestry of wisdom and love to fulfillment? How's that, Carrie? Did that answer your questions? Okay. Okay, we have a couple more minutes here, really just a couple. So are there any questions? Is there anything that you want to ask or that you want to share? Catherine, oh, it's so nice to see you, Lady Catherine. Okay, I'm going to unmute you. I think I'm going to unmute you. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. I wanted to hear more about, you mentioned the relationship between the dakinis and the elements, and I wanted to hear more about that.
Okay, you and thousands of others. Okay, this is a very big topic. It's not something that I can answer in the 3 minutes that are left to our engagement here. So, but Socio Malione has written a book that is really, it is precious about the dakinis, and I would recommend that you get it. She also, she did a Sounds True of CDs and, you know, an accumulation of CDs of the 5 Wisdom Dakinis. So that I would suggest, because there's really not time. I know Miri has asked me to do a sort of Zoom teaching retreat on the dakinis. And that requires a certain amount of preparation that I'm not really ready to do, but it's a wonderful study. And Soltram is amazing. So I recommend that you see if you can find that book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Anybody else? Any questions? I'm going to scroll around and see. Okay, there's Lori and Kim and Maya. Okay. Liliha. Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Maloa. All right, Maloa was dancing with me last night. Yep. And Linda was also so fantastic. And Kala over there in the Big Island, so beautiful. And Amina. Oh, this is just wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for coming to join me. I'm so thrilled to see you all. Yeah.
We had
Oh,
one question in the chat panel. It says that you spoke about 4 stages of Tonglen, but I've only heard of one differentiated. Could you clarify on that? And that's joy.
Okay. Well, I didn't say 4 stages because if there are 4 stages, I don't know them. What I said is that there are many different versions of Tonglen, many different versions. And when I teach Tonglen, I start with something that's very simple for people to understand. And then as we go deeper, we look deeper into the real causes of karmic circumstance. You know, when we start, it's just like our relationship to Tara is first the Tara in front of us. And we're not even sure about that, you know, but okay, we go along with the right, you know. But then she starts to really interact with us. But eventually then, through the course of the teachings, we realize that what she's really telling us is that we ourselves, if we manifest ourselves as a radiant light being, we are a Tara also. And so that is a stage in the practice. And then when we recognize that all of the various ways of accessing reality, that they all merge in this great united ultimate mind. So these are different stages of awareness that need to be cultivated. And in order to cultivate them, we have to start with the basics. So the basic Tonglen, the first one, of course, is just being willing to give away our love, to give it away. Now, giving away love doesn't diminish love. As we know, giving away love increases love. It's just like the generosity of setting the table for our beloveds to enjoy. You know, they enjoy, our joy comes from their enjoyment. Well, love, when we give away love, the joy comes from that giving it away. It comes back to us then. It's not about being loved, it's about being able to love that causes it. So with Tonglen then, we realize, gosh, I've got this wonderful life. I have so much joy. by doing this practice, now usually by the time we get to the praises, we have danced, I mean, by the time we get to the mantra, we've danced the praises. So we're pretty juiced up. We're really energized. However much we could absorb, we've got it. So now with that energy, that's what we want to give away. We want to give away that inspiration, that, you know, those glances as we look around the circle and we see all of these incredible people doing this dance together. You know, that creates an atmosphere. So we want to give that to the world. Wherever people are disoriented and unhappy and with their suffering. And then we want to take away the cause of their suffering. We want them to be able to really receive that joy. So we want to take away those causes and we feed the joy. Now that's one version. We feed the wisdom within us. We take this suffering and it's just like compost. It's like tinder. You know, we throw the tinder into our radiant wisdom heart, and that creates more joy. So then we have more capacity. Okay, that's a very basic way of approach. There are many ways of approach, but that one's good enough for now. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Let's see, I want to see everybody at least. Oh my goodness gracious. Ah, Fernanda, how nice. I don't think I've seen you before. Yeah. So, Elaine, you came. That's really fantastic. Oh, I'm so happy. And there, is that Ayana Rose? Yes. Oh my goodness, your hair is growing. I guess everybody's hair is growing. Oh goodness. Okay, Atlee, I got your message. I got your message. We can talk later. I just have not been available. Yeah, I haven't been available. But, you know, because with all the moving around, yeah, this is a big deal. Once I'm in town, you know, I need to take advantage to see all my buddies that I don't get to see. And now, of course, that I haven't seen in a long time. Okay. All right, beloveds. Well, I think that that's it. We don't really have anything to report as far as, oh, here, I'm going to go back to Miri. Miri, do you have anything that you want to say? No? Okay. Josh, do you have anything that you need to say?
All is well here.
Okay, so I also, the one thing that I do want to report to all of you is that Josh has been very busy building a new website for us. Our old website, as many of you know, has a lot of farts and wrinkles in it. I mean, it's been really a nightmare trying to deal with everything. We've still been functioning and we will keep functioning at whatever level we can, but it has been frustrating. So Josh has taken on the job of creating a new website for us. This is a huge job. So we will be happy to share it with all of you as it unfolds. Sometime
I could
about
say
a month,
something.
yeah.
I could say something about the website. On that note, that we're redoing it and it will be launched as soon as we get everything migrated. It will be a shop and website all in one, and it will correct the PayPal issues that people have been experiencing in the shop. So you guys just hold on in there, and it'll all be over soon.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I also want to thank all of you who have made donations to support the Zoom and to support Tara Dhatu. Your memberships, it's fantastic. It's so exciting to see memberships rolling in. It's really nice, and to see all of the excitement and support from our beautiful Sangha. I really, I look forward to the day when we can dance together holding hands. But in the meantime, I'm really grateful for all of you who have engaged in this practice of zooming the dance morning and night every single day. Thank you, Carrie, Parvati, wherever you are. Thank you. And Amber and her team. And then, of course, we have Adrienne and Claire, and it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. It fulfills the vision of Sita Rinpoche when he said, we're going to be dancing all over the world. And I kept wondering, oh, okay, how is that even possible? Well, now we know. Now we know. Here we are. It's fantastic. Fantastic. So I pray that whatever we have shared during this time, that it be an inspiration and a joy in our hearts, and that whatever it assists us in bringing forward in our families, in our communities, in our world, the precious gift of what humanity's purpose here is, to manifest the fullness of wisdom and compassion within every heart. Whatever power we've gathered, may it be for that cause. Om. Ah. Om. Om. Ah. Om. Om. Ah. Om.